Okay, hey cousins, we are back on our podcast. I have a guest today. Her name is Amber. I'm gonna let Amber go ahead and introduce herself and what she does.
Hi, everybody. Hey, cousins. Hey, family. Hey, y'all. My name is Amber. I am the owner of the Marketing Recipe. I'm a one woman band, but I guess we tend to call our businesses, we are a digital marketing agency. We specialize in graphic design, content creation, content strategy. So if you are looking to enhance your brand, if you need that secret sauce, I am your girl.
You already know we're here for the secret sauce, Amber. So I want to start off by talking about your journey. How did you get to be Amber of the marketing recipe?
Okay, great question. So I would say that my journey started. I've always been a lover of creativity. I've been a creative since I was younger. I'd say art class was always my favorite. But I grew up in the Midwest, and the Midwest doesn't tend to foster people who are like creative, so to speak. But it was always something that I loved and that I held near and dear to my heart. In college, I designed flyers, and I kind of think that that's what opened up my eyes to actually utilizing the skill set for more than just fun and leisure. I might actually can make some money off of it. So then after college, I was able to get a position with TGIN, which is a natural hair care company, and they actually helped develop my content creation on a whole nother scale. And since they are a corporate client, or since they're a larger client. They're sold in Ulta, Walmart, Sally's, Walgreens, Target.
Yeah,
So I was able,
TGIN is a big brand. Like that's
okay,
not
and
trendy. That's a big brand.
so I feel like that was kind of where I was able to really, really develop my love and creativity for it. And then from there, I mean, I was blessed and fortunate to have other positions working with influencers, female entrepreneurs, business coaches. I worked with Ebony. I work with a lot of I work with a lot of like home. Do we like to call them house brands? I work with a lot of brands that
Yeah,
we know.
household names.
Yep. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's pretty much a little bit about me and how I got to where I am.
Okay, girl. So you said that you are not from a place that fosters creativity. Are you from like Wisconsin, the cheese state? Like, where are you from?
Okay, so I am from Toledo, Ohio, y'all. They like to call us Little Detroit. 45 minutes away from Detroit. I'm a lot closer to Michigan than I am to like the rest of Ohio.
Okay, okay. So tell me about the journey of getting out of Ohio, because you're what in Atlanta, Georgia, right?
I am. Woo
Okay,
woo.
so talk to me about moving from Ohio to Atlanta and what that looked like.
Okay, it was real sporadic. Okay, there nothing was really planned. As much as I wanted to plan my move, nothing was planned. I actually wanted to go to Chicago because I'm like, well, Amber, like I need to make another move. Not even another move. I need to make a move. I was in Toledo. I was living at home with my mom. I just graduated college. My mom was getting frustrated with me because she was like, okay, Amber, like you just got your degree. She's thinking, you know how our parents are, they worked hard so that we lived a better life, or so that we could live a better life, but they didn't really
Yeah.
understand, like, just because I got my degree doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be a smooth transition. It's not a guaranteed job. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to say that the odds were stacked against me, but I'm an African American woman in a Midwest driven city that doesn't really foster what I want. It was really like I was batting out. But I believed in myself so much, I really just did not care. I had a little brand at the side. I really never ever cared. I kind of just move at my own beat, and I really do not care what anybody thinks. But I have my own beauty brand, so that's kind of where I was able to be like creative and kind of expressive and stuff like that. So I was on Instagram one day, and while I was on Instagram, sorry, y'all got a dog and she just kind of prancing all over the place. Um, while I was on Instagram, I saw this post for this woman. She was looking for like an array of different positions, and one of them was graphic designer. So I
Okay.
loved her aesthetic. It was super cute, super feminine and girly. It fit me to a T. And at that time, I was working for TGIN still, but they weren't necessarily trying to move me up. So I'm like, okay, I need something else. I need my big break at this point. I'm older. I know that I have the experience. I was working with other brands, but still, I wasn't able to really influence or put my foot on the mark like I really, really wanted to. So
Okay.
I know I applied, and then after I applied, I left a comment saying, you know, I applied with some hearts, and then she DM'd me, and I thought that was big. I'm coming from Toledo, Ohio. This lady had over 100K followers. I ain't never ever had somebody with 100K followers in my DMs before at all. So even though TGIN is a big brand, it still was the owner. She didn't really have too much influence and stuff like that, but it was still an amazing company. But I knew that I needed to get somewhere else to get ultimately to where I needed to be. So
Right.
she DM'd me and asked me if I was in Atlanta, and I lied. That's what I learned in college. You're supposed to lie about locations. You're not supposed to tell
I
nobody
will move
where you
anywhere for the right job. I will move
exactly.
anywhere for the right job. I am
Exactly.
not stationary. I am young and I'm living life. I live in Atlanta. I live
I
in
do live
Atlanta.
in,
I
so
do.
I didn't tell her I lived in Atlanta, but I told her that, no, I think I did tell her that I lived in Atlanta, but I told her that, I was at home for the holidays. She's like, oh, babe, well, we'll need you to be in Atlanta, because this isn't a remote position, blah, blah, blah. She was gonna, hold on one second. Fiona, can you please move? I love you, but you gotta move. Stop. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, she want to be in the podcast too.
She do. She don't know what to do with herself. But so she told me. I told her that, and then afterwards, she was like, "Okay, well, I need you to be there." And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna be back." You know, she was like, "Okay, well, since you're gonna be back, I'll put you in contact with my assistant, and you guys can kind of solidify details." She put me in contact with the assistant. I really just took the next week, whatever next week was available for me to interview. I just took. And I just
Okay.
agreed. I didn't have no plans, but then as soon as I agreed, I went on Spirit and I booked a one-way flight. I only had enough money for a one-way flight. That is it. That is all I remember. Yes.
One way flight. One way flight. No way home. Okay.
No way home.
This story got to get better. I'm listening. I'm
No way
ready for the
home.
rest.
No way home. Okay. So I got there. Thankfully, there was I had two old friends that actually moved to Atlanta like 6 months prior. So I said, hey, do you mind if I just stay with y'all? You know, I'm interviewing for this job. I'm kind of just trying to figure it out. They were like, that's fine. Okay, so on and so forth. So I got down there. I did not know how to get there. So I kind of just they gave me their MARTA bus pass. So I took the bus and I took the train as far as I could, and then I took an Uber. But I think I took the train all the way. I might have taken the train all the way. I got there. I brought my laptop. It was pretty much like a whole work day. And she wasn't really impressed with my TGIN. She was more impressed with my beauty brand that I developed. She was like, you did all of this by yourself? I said, yeah. So that's another thing that I would say. Like, if you are struggling to if you're struggling to acquire clients, focus on yourself and focus on how you can kind of be expressive through your work, and then they'll come from there. So I told her, yeah, that's my own brand, so on and so forth. We did the whole work day. I asked her, when do I find out if I was hired? She was like, oh, you're hired. I said, okay. I said, when do I start? She's like, tomorrow. So, I mean, at that
One
point,
way flight. On my friend's couch. Got hired the same day I did my project, my interview. What are we doing next? What was going through your mind when you said, oh, okay, I see you tomorrow? What was
right.
happening in that time span?
I mean, honestly, I feel like I was just so excited to get out of Toledo. I didn't really care. I'm like, you know what? I'm about to make this work by God's grace. I know He would put me here if it wasn't a reason. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just sticking with it. I'm going to stick beside
Okay.
Him. So yeah, so honestly, I didn't really have any regrets. I think at that point, I was just so happy to be somewhere different that I knew was going to challenge me to be a better woman, a better professional, just better overall. So I had no regrets. And my mom, she knew how bad I wanted to leave anyway. She was like, "Well, Amber, you always talk about leaving Toledo. You might as well just go." So I feel like as long as I got the okay from her, I was perfectly fine.
Awesome. I'm not gonna lie. If my mama tell me to do it, it's done. If
It's
my mama
done.
tells me, if I will call my mama quick, Mama, am I wrong? No? Okay, then I'm not wrong. So if my mama told me,
Exactly.
do it, go after your dreams, that's what I'm gonna do. And that's what you did. So you've been in Atlanta for how long now?
I think I'm going on 3 years on the 28th. I think I've been here
Okay.
because I got here 2021, 2. Yep, I'm going on 3 years on the 28th.
Okay. And do you still work for her?
No. I started
Okay.
working for her a year ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't work. Yeah, I stopped working for her a year ago, but it was a good experience.
Okay, so she took you out of Toledo. She moved you, or you moved to Atlanta for the experience for the job. And tell me about living in Atlanta, because the only thing that I can tell you is the one time I went to Atlanta, I was there for a couple of months to train for the job I have now. And it was a completely different experience. Atlanta is like no other city. The energy is different. The people are different. Tell me about your experience as an entrepreneur in that environment.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, the only thing I can really compare it to is Toledo, and Toledo is minuscule compared to Atlanta. So I would say, as far as opportunities, is great for those who are entrepreneurs or who are creative. Now, I feel like I got a little bit spoiled. So I feel like my experience is a little bit skewed because I didn't necessarily start from like I kind of started from phase one, but it was phase one with high profile people. You know what I mean?
So
Like
you didn't get it
it,
out the mud. You weren't starting with this much and getting it out the mud.
I was getting out the mud when I was in Toledo, but by the time I got
Okay.
to Atlanta, yeah, I was definitely getting out the mud in Toledo because we are literally called the Mud City. So, but when
Right?
I got to Atlanta, it was a little bit different because, like I said, the woman I've already worked with some people. I've already worked with, like I said, at that time TGIN, Lot of Body, and I actually had one of my old he was my old manager. He was the brand manager for Afrotech. So I used
Okay.
to do a little bit of work for them too. So I kind of already had a little bit of experience, but I never had too much direct experience. Like she pretty much was like, okay, well, you're in charge of this. Like, you know what I mean? You can take over this, da 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 da. And at the time, the brand had 26,000. I was able to grow it to 52,000 followers in the course. Yep, in the course of the time that I was working with her. So, like I said, it's not like I necessarily got it out the mud. I was a little bit spoiled, but I will say this though, on the other spectrum, when you're working with high profile people, their expectations are high. It's very, very
Yes.
high because you're a representation of them. Nobody's necessarily looking at you, the individual. They're always going to look at them. So I just always had to move in the respect of her, in her manner, in her grace, and make sure that I was doing everything that exceeded her expectations.
Definitely. When you work with high ticket, high profile clients, their expectations are not going to be get it out the mud. You already got it out the mud. So what's next? You have to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
you're topping the top of the top. You have to always be at your best level. You can't give them half ass and expect to keep your job. So,
Mm-hmm.
girl, that 26 to 52, you kind of slid that in there, but let's talk about it for a second. The amount of work and effort you have to put into a brand to take it from 26,000 to 52,000. Tell me about that experience and what that was like.
Y'all, it was a lot. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So to say, I know that you asked about my experience as an entrepreneur in Georgia. I didn't necessarily say, but it's been great. I'll be honest. I kind of keep to myself for the most part. I'm kind of an introvert, and typically my work can speak for itself. So I don't necessarily have to talk too much. So my experience
Okay.
isn't really. It's not bad here. I feel like there's a lot to do. I feel like there are a lot of entrepreneurship community and events to go to. So I would say, like I said, if that's something that you're interested in, anybody, I would highly recommend. But to answer your question about the 26 to 52 real quick, okay, it was stressful. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie. But
I
what
can
I
only
realized,
imagine.
it was stressful, but it was still rewarding. I'm a very competitive person. I'm an extremely competitive person. Like I always want to be top percentile. I don't necessarily have to be number one, but I always want to be an asset to a team. I never ever need someone to tell me what to do. I'm a very self starter. So for me, it was really just about making sure that I offered valuable information while making or creating an aesthetic. Because I mean, as much as I mean, I always tell people like aesthetics are cool, but you always need to have pertinent information that's going to captivate your audience. And then just
Ooh,
overall building a community. Yep, building a
talk about
community
it.
was a really, really big thing. So it wasn't necessarily like it was hard. I feel like once you get to a certain level of followers, it's kind of like, okay, as long as you can produce these pieces of content that people like, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be super easy.
Dope, dope. So you talked about networking events in Atlanta. Have you ever been to any networking events in Atlanta?
Oh yeah, of course. So for my old job, we used to. So we were a women's empowerment group, and we did a lot of digital events, but we did do in person events as well. So I was able to go to Tulum, Cabo. We did those types of networking events where we brought female entrepreneurs together. They
Oh,
went to
y'all was out in
Miami.
the Caribbean. Y'all was living
Yeah,
life.
yeah, it was fancy, okay, because she got
Okay.
money, but
You
but
want to
it
be
was a
where
really
she
really
at.
good experience. Other than that, I would say I was able to go to a couple other business coaches events as well. Very very powerful. The rooms that I've been able to be in, I'm very very blessed and fortunate because I've learned so much by being around these people. It makes absolutely no sense. I was there are typically a lot of events in the summertime. That's when Atlanta likes to roll out there like Black African American business coach type of sort of event. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
been to quite a few events.
Okay, so with these events, let's talk about personal development because I feel like going to networking events definitely builds you and builds you to be who you want to be. I know there are about four people in this world right now that I want to be in their shoes at some point, not stay in their shoes, but get to
Mm-hmm.
there where they are right now. And if they were at an event, I'm trying to be at that event. So,
Mm-hmm.
what person or people or coaches that you followed or you've seen that you were glad to be in the room with?
First one I would say is Neo Davis. That
Okay.
man, he is so intentional when he speaks. It makes absolutely no sense. And I'm not trying yeah, he's extremely intentional and he's very blunt and straight to the point, which I appreciate. I don't like people who sugarcoat and I don't like people who pretend like they gotta be nice in your face. Like he really, really is very, very raw and authentic and I really, really appreciate that about him. And I feel like him along with a couple other business coaches really set the precedent when it comes to how everybody else moves in the industry. Like I kind of know a little bit, and because I know a little bit based on what I've experienced with him, I'll see other people and how they move. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could definitely tell like people are influenced by him. So I think that he's great. I feel like he's very very influential and he's extremely knowledgeable about his industry. I also like Marketing by Monray. I haven't been able to. Did I go to her event? I didn't go to her event. However, I do have a client that works with her, so I feel like it's kind of like it's not like I went to her event, but I feel like I have a little bit of connection with her, and I follow her on Instagram. She's extremely smart as well. I love the marketing gems that she drops. She's very, very knowledgeable. And then David, he does Sleep is for Suckers, but he's more of like a podcast type of sort of dude. Yup.
David Shan.
Yeah, David Shan, the
Girl.
man. But
I
I like
love
him.
me some of his
Yeah.
podcasts, girl. I actually listened to it yesterday when I first got up. I listened to his podcast in the morning times, whenever there's a new episode. But yeah, that man, the way he talks and what he talks about, he
Mm-hmm.
almost dumbs it down enough for anybody who's brand new for them to understand it. But he drops enough knowledge in there to where if you aren't new and you're a little seasoned, you can understand what he's saying and you can learn
Yeah.
from him. The guests that he has on his podcast also top tier,
Mm-hmm.
top
I
tier. I
agree.
love it.
I agree. And then my last person I would say is Trishana. I love her story. I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like her story is very similar to a lot of other people's stories. And I love how when she talks, she always emphasizes the importance of having a business plan. Because I feel
Mm,
like oftentimes that kind of gets swept under the rug. And I remember in school, that's what I had to do. I had to do business plans for some of my classes. So the fact that it's actually coming back up and it actually is a necessity is really, really interesting. So I like hearing her as well.
definitely. I definitely can. I should have been following her. I think I'm gonna go and follow her after this episode ends. But I had no idea that I needed a business plan when I started my first couple businesses. I didn't know what a business plan was. I just thought that you needed that if you were going out to get a loan from a bank. And that's how my mind was thinking. And I'm sure that's
Mm-hmm.
how a lot of people's minds think when they think business plan because I'm starting my own business. I'm funding my own business. What I need to write a business plan for. But it's for you in the end. Like it's for you to
Mm-hmm.
run your business. And I don't think
Mm-hmm.
enough people know about it and enough people utilize it. So shout out to her for talking about it, bringing it back up into the space because it needs to be talked about a lot more
Mm-hmm.
often. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I always ask my guests to define finessing failure. And because that's the name of my podcast, I have a different definition than what you might say. So, what do you think finessing failure actually means?
So for me, finessing and failure really means, look, there's really no rhyme or reason to doing entrepreneurship or any type of sort of journey that you're on. So there's really no structure. Nobody really is like, okay, these are the 5, 10 principles of X, Y, and Z. Nobody really said that these are the principles that is founded upon in X, Y, and Z. So I think that that's where the finesse kind of comes from. Like, you don't really know how to do it, but we're gonna get it done. And then the failure aspect to me isn't even really a bad thing, because I feel like it's more failure to me in this industry is more or less constructive criticism. More
Hmm.
or less, you know what I mean? I don't necessarily look
Yes.
at failure as a bad thing. I look at it as like a learning opportunity. So when I look at the failure aspect of finesse and failure, to me it means like, if you do not succeed, try again, try again, try again, try again. So it might not be failing, but I mean, I don't call it failing, but that's what I would at least define the failure aspect of finesse and failure to be. So that's what the definition means to me.
That is a beautiful definition for more than one reason. You touched on so many different parts of being an entrepreneur in that definition. There is no blueprint to being an entrepreneur because you're not going to go through the exact same thing I went through on your journey as I went through in mine. Being able to adapt in a different category or a different journey is also important because I never thought I'd be selling clothes. I never thought I'd be teaching people how to run businesses. Those are two completely different lanes, but here I am.
Mm-hmm.
I also love the fact that you said, oh, how did you say it? There's no such thing as failure. There isn't. The only time you truly fail at something is if you don't try again. You are stuck in that one mindset. Well, that didn't work, so I'm gonna hang up my boots. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna put my Chanel in the closet and I ain't never wearing it again because I dropped it on the floor when I was at dinner. Like, no, you have to
Yeah.
keep going. You have to
Exactly.
pick that Chanel back up, take it out the closet,
Clean
take
it
it for
off.
another spin,
Right. It was a
and we're
Chanel,
good.
honey. That costs money. Not doing
Money.
that.
The fact that you got the Chanel and you're at the point where you could buy a Chanel, that's one part. The second part is making sure you maintain it and you might get a Birkin next time. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to make sure that you're able to and you have the mindset to keep going. And I feel like that's a lot of brand new business owner mistakes. As soon as something doesn't work the first time, we're like, oh, that didn't work. And then we quit
Uh-huh. And it's not
instead
like
of
that. It's
continuing. It's not.
exactly. And honestly, in entrepreneurship, oh my gosh, you're gonna go through the highs and the lows, and it is gonna seriously affect you. But I feel like it's just about business. It's just about fine tuning. And when you discover your low points, well, how can you still bring money in during those points, or what can you do to prepare yourself for the high points? So I try at this point of the game, I try not to really beat myself up too much. I might get down. I mean, there are emotions, but I try not to beat myself too much up because I feel like people admire what I do. I'm happy that I'm able to do this for a living. I'm able to be creative for a living. So, I mean, what did I fail at? You know what I mean? I'm just trying to
Talk
get
to me
better.
about it. Yes. And that's really, I think that separates the people who want to be business owners from the people who are truly meant to be entrepreneurs. That mind state of, well, it didn't work this time, but let's try this right here instead of just
Mm-hmm.
giving up as soon as that one thing didn't work. I had to realize that with my marketing plans. My marketing plans did not work the first couple times, but I just had to keep fine tuning until I finally got the secret sauce. Like, it's not
Mm-hmm.
a one-way street. You got multiple cars driving, you got a red light here, you got a yield sign in the back. You got
Exactly.
to figure out exactly what's working for you specifically. And I think that's phenomenal. So let's think real quick. Think back to when you first became an entrepreneur. What is a piece of advice you would give your younger self in order for you to go through this journey, or any piece of advice that you could think of for new entrepreneurs that they would need or you would think they would need?
Okay, I'll give you two. I'll say,
Mm,
yeah, I'll give you two. The first one is like for those who are more long term thinkers, because
okay.
I feel like for me, when I was younger, I was kind of just, I was long term ish, but I was more kind of just going with the flow. Like, okay, cool, I can make a little bit of money off this. Like, this is great. So my first thing that I would tell people is formatting your business. Please format your business properly, because there are a lot of benefits that entrepreneurs can reap if we know exactly what to do, as far as like tax write-offs, quarterly taxes, annual taxes, having employees. I know that y'all just seen, I think it's the ERC is giving like 26,000 to businesses. They gave out a W-2. I'm like, see, I gotta start getting more serious with my business now.
I'm telling 26 bands,
26
bands for giving out. I think you have to have 5 employees, but you handing out 5 W-2s. I'm sure you have a social media manager. I'm sure you have a marketing manager that partners with that social media manager. I'm sure you need a CPA or somebody that look over your taxes. That's 3 right there.
Yep.
That's
You know
3
what I
right
mean?
there.
Hire your mama to do something, y'all. Your mama can do something, okay? I'm saying
she can be a VA.
Exactly. She could be a little light VA. You know, she could pack up quarters.
But
so I think for me, even though, you know, 5 employees might be excessive, just think about that though. So if that's available to people who have 5 employees, just imagine the benefits that are available to us that we may not even know. Like, for example, there are grants that were available during COVID that you could have taken advantage of if you set up your business properly. So
that was not a PPP loan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
that
was not PPP loans.
That was not PPP loans. These were grants. This was free money. This was money you did not have to go and get back.
I say the money was easy to get, it was literally, it wasn't like a traditional, I don't want to say traditional grant, but it wasn't like a grant where you had to like write out like your business and what it means and how it can be beneficial to the community. No, it was literally like, okay, boom, we acknowledge your business. We understand that you're probably in need of money. Fill out, like, it was literally just, it was more like, how much money did your business lose during COVID? What did you lose? And it was literally just like sign, seal, and deliver. So that's what I'm saying. Like, just set up your business properly so that you can reap the benefits. Because what I've realized is entrepreneurship fluctuates so much, especially depending on what business you're in. It really, really just fluctuates. So taking advantage of those blessings, those small blessings, big blessings, however you want to call it, is very, very conducive to you. So that will be my first thing. My second thing would be, what would I tell my younger self? Still prioritize you, because that's something that I feel like I struggled with a lot when I was younger. I was too much of a people pleaser. I still kind of am a people pleaser, but I kind of learned at this point, set boundaries, say no. Like, set boundaries, say no.
Boundaries, say no, be about you and for you. I live by that.
So that's what I would say. That's what I would say, because I feel like there was this time period where like African American women were really, really prioritizing hustling, being a strong Black woman, yada yada yada, whoopty whoop, y'all.
We is tired, boss. We is tired.
I don't want to do it no more. I heard this thing.
I don't want to be a strong Black woman anymore. I want to be me.
No, we live in a soft life. I heard that we living in delusion, okay? And I might be the one to live in delusion this year. I really, really might.
I'm telling you right now, living in delusion has gotten me a lot of places that my normal self would not have been. I was like, I'm going to make 6 figures this year. Guess what happened 2 weeks later? I didn't make 6 figures. But I started my podcast, and my podcast is going to be leading me to 6 figures. So
yes,
I'm living in delusion. I'm doing it this year. 2023 is the year of delusion, and I'm no longer hustling, but I'm living my soft life, and I'm going to do the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, don't put so much pressure. I've learned not to put so much pressure on yourself. Definitely still have expectations for growth, but try not to put so much pressure on yourself, because at the end of the day, if you're working with somebody, they chose you for a reason. So don't necessarily get into your brain too much. Just kind of, do your job, do it the best that you can, and then put it down and go recharge.
Right. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about recharging real quick. I'm a self-care girly. I'm going to get my toes done right after this podcast ends. So talk to me about your self-care routine. Is it important to you? What do you do for self-care? Like, what does it look like for a boss of your stature to be self-caring? What does that look like?
So for me, I'm pretty simple. I'm not even going to lie. I love a mani and a pedi. I need to get my nails done real bad. I love a massage as well. I love coffee shops. I tend to do those, but I'm a skincare girl. So catch me in Sephora, catch me in Ulta, finding the new teas, honey. I'm gonna come
I'm hiding from
home,
Ulta, baby. I'm hiding from
girl.
Ulta.
I'm gonna come
Me and
home
Ulta have
and
a
I'm gonna
very
go ahead.
love-hate relationship.
That's funny. And then after I come home, I pretty much act like I'm a beauty guru and I review everything. And I just, live in delusion because my other wife is a beauty guru. Like, we just living in delusion this year. I ain't got time for people. So I would say those are the things I like to do. I have a dog. I already mentioned that. We like to go for walks. But I keep it pretty simple. I'm a really, like I said, to myself type of person. So everything that I do just kind of just tends to be like in solitude.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. I
Mm-hmm.
think the last thing I did for myself, I went and got my hair done. I need to actually go get the lace laid again because it's starting to come up. Either way, got my hair done. I think that I got my toes done 2 weeks ago. That was about 2 weeks ago. I think that's it. I think when it comes down to self care, I'm really a foodie. Like I love self care, and skincare is not my jam. I'm not really, but when it comes down to food, I will cook for 12 people, and it's only me in my house. Or I will go out and
Aw.
spend bank on a dinner for me because I think I deserve it. So speaking of, I used to bartend. I bartended for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and that's something I fell in love with. So anytime that I'm celebrating, I need a drink. So what is it that you drink to celebrate a success when you had a good day, when your client had a win, when you had a win? What do you drink? What is the drink of a finesser?
Y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't hang with the big dogs when it comes to alcohol. I'm such a lightweight; it don't even make no sense. Yes, I know, crazy. Every single time I go out and drink, there was this tweet that came out. It said by the time I drink, I'm just drunk, and it just be like that's the thing. Like by the time I drink, I'm drunk and I'm done. You could ask my friends; it's terrible. But I would say like the drinks that okay, y'all. Nobody likes vodka, but I love vodka because it doesn't taste like nothing. So if you put it in a drink, you really can't taste it. Like you can't taste it at all. And vodka messes me up. Now I love a sex on the beach. I love like fruity drinks, pina coladas. I love a lemon drop. I love margaritas. But catch me with some wine. Okay, I like wine. I'm a wine girl. I can limit myself. I can monitor how I do, and it's typically like a nice little buzz. You know what I mean?
Is wine sets you, it gets you together. Wine is not no sloppy drunk. Wine is not no falling all over the place. Wine is just you sitting there with a little glass and you just feeling yourself the whole
Oh, I'm
night.
gonna feel it. Oh, I'm gonna feel it too.
I love
So
it.
yeah, that's me.
Okay. Red or white?
It really depends. I like Lambrusco for red, but that's more like a sweet red. But I feel like I'm more palatable when it comes to white because white isn't as dry. Just
Correct.
depends.
I do drink reds, but it has to be a blend or a dessert red.
Hmm.
It can't be no regular Cabernet because I'm not drinking it.
Yeah,
You can keep that bottle
I'm not drinking.
closed. You can keep it behind the counter. I'm not drinking that.
You can keep.
You
Yeah.
can keep it. I don't want none of that. But celebratory wise, I can definitely see a glass of wine, something slight. Now, you really can't hang with the girls.
I can't hang with the girls. I know it's bad. It makes me upset every single time. It frustrates me. Like I remember the last time I drank, it was for my friend's birthday down here, and I promise you, we all drank the same amount, and I was done for. I was done for. Yes. Granted, I'm smaller too. I don't really weigh that much, so that probably that. But still, like I just do not have a tolerance, and it's terrible because I'm Caribbean, and Caribbeans are known to drink. Like my dad, he don't do it no more, but like he used to drink, and you could never ever tell if he was drunk. Like he could hold it. Yeah, he could hold it so together. We drink moonshine, and he will be fine. And I'm
I'm
like,
trying to be
you
like your
keep.
daddy. Because alcohol drinks for me, it honestly depends on what it is. Like you said, I do not like vodka. I will not.
Everybody hate it.
I will not. Vodka, gin. I can handle rum. It has a very specific taste, and I have to be in the mood for it. But I'm a bourbon and whiskey girl. Like that's me at heart.
Mm-hmm.
After about three, four, five of them, I'm good for the night.
05.
I'm good for the night. You know,
I'm cool after one, honey. One little strawberry Hennessy, and I'm good.
a strawberry
Okay.
Hennessy margarita, baby. You on to something with that
Oh,
one.
good.
On to
That
something
was
with
a
that
good
one.
one.
It is. Okay, so we talked about your journey. We talked about your lack of drinking. We talked about your personal development. Um, let's talk about a book that you would recommend an entrepreneur read. But I know that you said you're not real big on reading, but you are podcast heavy. So, other than the David Shan podcast, are there any other podcasts that you like to listen to on your day to day?
So outside of his, I love to listen to Side Hustle Pro. I can't remember who is the founder of it, but she's an African American woman, and I love her because I feel like she talks about, well, she's definitely developed her podcast now because she's been around for a decent amount of time now. But her podcast kind of just started off as like, okay, hey, like you got a 9 to 5, but you got a side hustle, but you kind of want to pivot into entrepreneurship. How are you going to get it done? So
Okay.
I feel like she kind of helps you on the journey of doing it. She features a lot of people who've been through the same thing. You might be a mom who has a side hustle. You might just be at a roadblock or a creative block. How do you get over it? I feel like her podcast really, really helped me, especially in my early stages of entrepreneurship, just navigating, especially like we said, there's really no like blueprint for it. So just hearing other people's experiences sometimes is enough teachable moment for me, to be honest. So it's very
Definitely.
helpful. I love her podcast.
I'm going to give you a podcast I want you to try out. And I meant to tell you this when we were on the phone the first time, but there's this podcast by, her name's Asia Abston. This is one of the 4 people that I want to be in their shoes here soon.
Mm-hmm.
Her podcast is very similar, and she talks to people who have reached that $100,000 either a year mark or a month mark.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about
Okay.
their journey. They drop those gems for you guys. It's called Get Rich or Get Drunk Trying. And I'll send it to you in
Okay.
an email. But definitely has changed my life. I've been listening to it since probably September or October, and I binged a lot of the episodes. And she's starting to drop more episodes now. But her podcast has definitely gotten me out of my funk. It's definitely took me from, oh, I can't really do this, to why aren't you doing it? And I also follow her on Instagram, and I think she's about to crack that 100,000 follower mark here soon. So
Okay.
she's a very motivational person as well, but she's real and she's raw and she's uncut, and I love it. So I would recommend that
Okay.
you listen to that one as well. I'm trying to think. I feel like we talked about so much, but I want to ask you one more question. With
Mm-hmm.
you being a marketing strategist, what is something that you would tell an entrepreneur about marketing that would help them on their journey?
The thing that I would tell someone about marketing that would help them on their journey, I'm trying to think. It would be between it's a lifestyle and it's always changing. So for
Mm,
me, marketing, there really is no formula. To me, it's really just a lifestyle. I feel like people who are in marketing, we fully, completely take accountability for, we want to attract people. We
mm,
want to attract people in some kind of way, some kind of shape, some kind of form. I do it on a more visual aspect. Some people do it on a communication aspect. Some people do it on a strategic aspect. I do it on a strategic aspect too. I think that everything requires strategy, but people who are in marketing are very, very, we have an interest in people and wanting to attract people to us or people to other things. That's what I would say. And then two, like I said, it's just always ever changing. Marketing when I was in college is not the same marketing that it is now. Like not even by a landslide. When I was in college, we were barely even touching social media. We like they talked about it, but they never talked about how influential it could potentially be in today's
right,
society.
right.
You know what I mean?
So when I was in college, I will never forget this. This is when Snapchat was really huge, and getting a filter, like getting a geographic
Mm-hmm.
filter, was a big thing. And I remember I was laying in my room and I was on Snapchat, and I took a picture and I was sliding through the geographics, and my school popped up. And this was the first time that it had ever popped up, and I was like, I called my friend. I said, "Girl, and
Mm-hmm.
got a geographic." And she was like, "Ain't no way." So we get on there and we use this thing for probably the first 2 years of Snapchat being like really big. But no one tells you how, one, things change, because you rarely ever see that on people's Snapchats anymore. But two,
Mm-mm.
marketing, a new platform could pop out tomorrow, and there's going to be somebody trying to teach you how to use it. It's ever
Mm-hmm.
changing. For
Mm-hmm.
marketing with me, I feel like a lot of people get lost in the sauce when they see people on Instagram and people on TikTok who have these thousands and thousands of followers and they want to be like them. So they start these different roads of marketing on their one page. And we get lost because it worked for them. Why is it working for me? That's not your target audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And that's not what you need to be doing. It might be good to like do competitor quote unquote analysis, do a SWOT analysis, really, really assess, but I would not necessarily take someone's whole formula and then try to use it thinking that it's going to work for you. I feel like marketing has to be very, very authentic. So kind of back to my point, I feel like there needs to be authenticity when it comes into it, because like I said, it's kind of like you want to attract people, which means that you kind of want to build a relationship with people in a sense, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then when I was saying, I said I said, oh, and it's ever changing. I would say that to not even discourage people, but just encourage people to just continue to just try to learn about the industry, because the more you know, the better that it's going to be for you. And the more you show up as an industry expert, the more people are going to be interested in working with you or enticed by you or see you as a prominent figure and kind of so on and so forth. So I would just say,
Absolutely.
like I said, it's like, oh my gosh, you be like, oh my gosh, we got chat, we got AIs for chat now. Don't get mad at that kind of stuff, y'all. That is really, really saving people a lot of time on writing copy and doing a whole lot of other stuff. If you see something or if you hear about something and it's buzzing, look into it and research it and see how you can utilize it for your business, and also how you can then teach it or tell it to other people so they can utilize it in their business or
Yes.
however you do your marketing. So yeah, don't be scared to change.
Simplicity in business will save you so much time, so much headache, so much frustration. Because why am I going to sit here and take 2 days to write one email when I could go online? They have my target market already pulled up and they're going to write the email for me and it's going to sound like me. All I have to do is
Mm-hmm.
edit. That just saved me 46 hours. Why would I
Exactly.
not do that? We have to make sure. I think people are stuck in that solopreneur mindset of, oh, oh, did you remember seeing those Instagram TikTok or those Instagram reels
Mm-hmm.
where they were
Oh
like,
yeah, well,
welcome to
this
my
person was
business?
this.
Yes. And it would be them in different positions. That did not excite me. That
Nope.
was a total,
Even though it was me, even though it was
right.
us,
It was
I have
us.
no aspiration of wanting to show up as all these people. Because the crazy thing is, y'all, I did it. Okay, I did that. Not even for my business, for the other business that I work for high profile people, and it's not fun, y'all. It's way too much pressure. It's way too stressful. It's not cute.
That
It's not cute.
romanticization of overworking ourselves for I will go to Fiverr so fast and pay somebody to do it before I do it myself. Me and Fiverr have a very romantic relationship. I love them and they love me back. I
Y'all love
send the
each other.
payment
Y'all
and
love
they do the work. I am a outsource it if I can't do it. I will say that there are some things in my business I still touch because one, I want that personal touch in my business. I never want it to be completely automated. But two,
Mhm.
I know that I can do it better than they could. I
Mhm.
am a expert in that one thing. And that one thing for me is or wasn't email marketing until I fell in love with email marketing. So I am big on email marketing. I'll do that by myself. But when it comes to
Mhm.
brand design, when it comes to website design, when it comes to those systems and automations in the back end, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not
Yeah.
even setting up the Instagram page. Somebody else is doing that.
Yeah,
I'm paying other
because there's
people
a
to do
certain way
that.
you got to do it. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not mad at that at all.
Mm-mm. Outsourcing has saved my time, my life, and honestly, once I get the podcast to where I want it to be, it's going to be outsourced. Reaching out is going to be outsourced. It's going to be
Okay.
almost automatic. That way, I'm not stressing myself on the small details. Those things are taken care of already. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we have romanticized being the solopreneur and doing it all ourselves. And in 3 months, we're tired of doing it because we doing so much. So
Mm-hmm.
take a step back, figure out what you're good at, do that and outsource everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's
100%.
that's the key to success right there. I enjoyed this podcast with you.
I
I
know. I
enjoyed
love
it.
talking to you.
I love it. I think that we definitely should I'm gonna probably follow you on my personal page. That way we have that and then we can always
We
link
can
up.
follow each other. We
Yes.
can follow